to you. We back once again. We have a new review out this week for the new film that was released in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is the third film of the Ant-Man trilogy. And what is this film about? Well, this is the film that has Hank, Scott, Janet, Hope, and Cassie. They all get sucked into the quantum realm after Cassie sends a signal to the quantum realm, and they bring themselves into the quantum realm and they explore this whole other universe beneath our own universe that we have. And they run into a lot of new interesting creatures and worlds that they did not think was possible. And while they're stuck down there, they come into contact with Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. And he wants to make a deal with Scott so that he recovers some item for him so he can get out of the quantum realm somehow. And once they meet Kang, all hell breaks loose. And guys, you know, I am a big MCU fan. I love all the Marvel movies, as you can see with the Funko Pops and the posters as well. I have been growing my excitement for this movie ever since the trailers and what I've been hearing about this film. This is the start of Phase 5. This is our first movie within this phase. And I just want to go right off the bat and express my feelings about this movie, as I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I really did. I dug this movie. I love the weirdness of the quantum realm and all the unique creatures and worlds that we were introduced to while we were in the quantum realm, because there's a reason why this movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, because all the Earth scenes that you see in the trailer, like, that's literally it for what happens on Earth. That's it. Right after that, we are immediately into the quantum realm for 75% of this movie. And I really dug that. And there was a little bit of trepidation going into this film because the other two Ant-Man movies are more small scale MCU movies. They're not universe-saving, world-saving type films. They're very small. Like, that first Ant-Man movie is pretty much a company heist movie in a way. The second one, they're trying to save Janet from the quantum realm. And now we have this big, expansive, in-depth look exploring the quantum realm fully in depth. And I really enjoyed it. The visuals and the look of the quantum realm, for the most part, looked great. Although there was a few little scenes I would see of scenery that looked clearly like not good CGI, and that they were clearly surrounded by a whole bunch of blue screens, green screens. And there was aspects of that, but for the most part, it all looked great in my own personal opinion. I loved, and I won't say I loved this movie, I really enjoyed it. It was great, it was fun, the action was phenomenal as well. And, you know, going from Ant-Man and the Wasp into this big Quantumania movie, you know, there was a little bit of trepidation that you would lose the heart, the charm, and the wit of those first Ant-Man movies and the Ant family. And we still get that, I want to say. We still get that charm, the heart of it all, with Scott Lang, his daughter Cassie, who's a lot older now, and Hank and Janet, the whole Ant-Man family. Those aspects were still in this movie, just not on Earth, but into the quantum realm. And I really am happy about that, because that's what really made the Ant-Man movies as good as they were, was that heart, the charm that we got from Paul Rudd, who plays Scott Lang, who I thought was magnificent in this movie. I really dug it. This movie has a lot of funny jokes all throughout, you know, that MCU humor, and most of it lands. There was a few jokes that I'll get into once I talk more in depth about the negatives that did not work for me, but for the most part, it all worked. And I do just want to go right off the bat and say this is a non-spoiler review, so you don't have to worry about any spoilers being said within this review at all whatsoever. I'll have a spoiler review later down the line, probably either Sunday or Monday, where we talk fully in depth about the spoilers throughout this film, because there's a lot that happens throughout this movie, and you know, some world building and preparing us for the future slate of MCU movies, in particular with those two great post-credit scenes that we had at the very end of the movie. There's a lot that we're building to, and that's another major thing that I loved about this movie is that we're actually getting some sort of story and progression of where things are going in the MCU. And that was the main problem that I think majority of us had with Phase 4, is that they were testing and experimenting a lot with that phase, but nothing was moving forward with the whole narrative and the journey of the MCU. Nothing was moved forward at all. We know we are in the multiverse saga as it stands now, but we did not see any intrigue or any footsteps of what's coming, and we got that. And in particular, what we were seeing for the future of the MCU, we got that with Kang the Conqueror. And I'm gonna just go straight off the bat and say this. Jonathan Majors is a fucking superstar. He is a star in the making. This is his breakout year to where everybody's gonna sit there and say, that guy's a star, because he's coming out with Creed later on. He had a few films last year like Devotion, and now he's got his big franchise in the MCU, and he's playing Kang. He is our new big bad. He's what was sorely missing from the MCU in Phase 4, was the big overarching bad and the threat that's coming down the line, that the Avengers, there's no true Avengers team as it stands, but the Avengers, they're gonna have to face and deal with, and he's gonna be a major threat, because he was absolutely menacing. He feels what he's doing is right, and we all know that makes a great villain, is the villains that they're doing a specific cause and they think they're the hero of their story, but what they're doing is they're egotistical, maniacal, narcissistic as hell, and Jonathan Majors brings all of that. He's very different from Thanos. Thanos, we understood his motivations as we saw his own planet die and why he was going out to do what he did. With Kang, he's just like, yeah, I'm in control of time. I can do what the fuck I want. This is what I feel is best for the multiverse. When we explore a little bit more of the multiverse within this film, this movie, honestly, to me, felt more like a multiverse of madness as opposed to Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. That's another thing I really enjoyed as well. And when you're going into the quantum realm and you're experiencing a whole new universe beneath ours, you're gonna see a lot of weird and zany stuff all throughout. And I'm all for that. You know, bring on all the weird shit. I'm all for that, as this is a very much superhero sci-fi movie. And that's where Marvel thrives, is the blending of the genres. We have the superhero genre mixed with sci-fi. And what we heard a lot from the audience reactions and the critic screenings when they did their reviews is that this is the MCU meets Star Wars. And I can agree with that in a way. This is very much the MCU's Star Wars, with all the sci-fi aspects and action that all happens all throughout this film. And I really dug all that. They did a really good job. Peyton Reed, he wanted this big, epic, grand scale Avengers-like movie, and he got that, and he delivered to great effect. And I really enjoyed it. Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet, she has a lot more to do and say in this movie because she's back with the rest of the gang, and we learn more about her time in the quantum realm as it stands and what she was doing throughout this entire time that she was gone. And I thought Michelle Pfeiffer was fantastic in this movie as we explored and learned a lot more about her and understand why she feared even remotely even talking about the quantum realm. She just wants to leave it all behind. And it's mainly to do with Kang in this movie. And Kang, this is a totally different Kang than we've seen in Loki. In Loki, he was the man beyond time, basically. In this one, he is the conqueror, and he conquers, he kills physically and mentally. Like, Jonathan Majors just delivers all throughout. Like, he was the standout. He was so scary within this film. Like, you feel the tension just when people are talking about him, because they don't even say his name in this movie. When they refer to Kang, they refer to him as him. They said, you left us with him. And I love that those little aspects to certain villains, that they're that scary, that menacing, that chilling to a point where they don't even want to say his name. And I dug the fuck out of that. And I really enjoyed it. You know, the action was great, the CGI was great. In particular, the third act of this movie is absolute batshit. It's batshit crazy. A whole lot of fighting, you know, some rebellions going on, trying to fight and stop Kang from achieving what he's trying to achieve in this movie. And I really dug it. It's very funny. Bill Murray, he has a very, very small role in this movie. It's very small, so don't expect to see a whole bunch from Bill Murray in this movie at all. He plays his role just fine for what he's supposed to bring to this movie. He was in and out, plain and simple. I want to talk about the negatives of this movie now, because this movie's not perfect by any means whatsoever. There's one thing in particular that I'm about to go into that just did not work, and I'm not going to go into spoilers, but for me, MODOK did not work in this movie. I think you could have easily cut his role from out of this film, and it may have made it a tad bit better, because with MODOK, if you see the design of MODOK alone, he's a goofy looking character, like very goofy, and it's like he does not work on screen, especially with how they designed him, the big floating head of MODOK. It just did not work. His jokes in the movie kind of took away from the serious moments just because of how ridiculous he looked in this movie. And it just did not work. And I know it's not going to work for a lot of people as well, because that's the one problem that Marvel does have sometimes when it comes to their films, is that they'll have some great dramatic scenes and serious moments, but they take those serious and dramatic scenes away by trying to include a joke. And that's something they desperately need to stop. Like, I get it. You want to include jokes into your movies. We want to have fun, that feeling of fun and laughter with your movies, but you can't take away from the dramatic scenes with a joke. You have to let it sit and let us feel and resonate with those dramatic scenes. And they don't get it, and I don't understand it. And I'm gonna forever call them out when it comes to that. They need to legit stop. MODOK, you know, he had some decent action scenes throughout, but just the floating head, his dialogue, his jokes all throughout, it did not work for me whatsoever. And that was the big glaring negative for me. There's also some tonal issues as well, in particular when it comes to those jokes. It's not tonally bad as other people have felt, in my personal opinion, but tonally it was a little flippy floppy because of how menacing and threatening Kang was all throughout this movie. And then you have the Ant-Man family with their wit, their heart, their charm. You know, the two genres, they just, I wouldn't say genres, but the two tones did not fully mesh all together at the end. But we love these characters, this Ant-Man family, so much that, you know, we go along for the ride with them on this journey through the quantum realm. And just those aspects of Hank, Cassie, and the whole gang, all of them together is what carries this movie, is them. Another thing that did not work, in the minor negative for me, is Scott and Hope's powers. And I'm going to say Cassie because clearly in the trailer she has a suit as well. Their powers don't stand out and feel special like they did in the previous Ant-Man movies. In particular, when we see them get extra huge, because us as humans, we have this human size here, and then you see Scott getting ginormous with his powers, or the ant powers getting ginormous. It does not feel as grand and as spectacle as it used to, because in the quantum realm, everything is so much smaller. And so when you see Scott get to that ginormous of a size, it really looks and feels like it's just me standing up, like it's just his regular standing looking self. He does not feel any much more bigger or grander once he gets to that size. And that kind of bummed me out a little bit in the film. not too much, but you know, it kind of takes away from his powers and the suit that he uses. And you know, once you're in the quantum realm and everything much smaller, that's one thing that you got to deal with in regards to that. So kind of bummed me out, but it is what it is. Those are the only true glaring negatives that I had with the film. Maybe once I go see this for a second time, I might pick up and notice a few more things all throughout, both positively and negatively. But overall, for me, I'm shocked that this has a 51% score on Rotten Tomatoes, meaning that critics are legitimately split down the middle in regards to this movie. Now, I don't know if the whole weirdness and the off-putting of the sci-fi weirdness with some of the characters out and all that is gonna turn people off. I can clearly see some of that, but I don't get what's not working with people in this movie. And if you've seen this movie and it did not work for you, comment down below and let me know what did not work, whether you liked it or disliked it, because I'm very curious to see if we can start some great communication and dialogue with each other about what worked and what did not work, because I'm very curious to hear all of you guys' thoughts on this movie once you all see it. And man, I just want to wrap this up and say that I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. This is a great start to Phase 5 and the future of the MCU moving forward. Jonathan Majors as Kang absolutely kills in this movie. I cannot wait to see him again in future projects. And you know, MODOK, the Scott's powers, and a little bit of tonal problems were the negatives that hold this movie back from being great, but I still very much enjoyed it. I can go as far and say that I think I might enjoy this movie more than Black Panther 2. I legitimately think that outside of Spider-Man No Way Home, which is just chef's kiss great. Outside of Spider-Man No Way Home, I might just sit here and say that Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is the best film. It's better than every film that was released in Phase 4, in my honest opinion. And I really dug it. I cannot wait to go see this movie again, as it was very much fun. And that is why, for me, on the fish scale, I'm gonna give this movie a solid 4 out of 5 on the scale for me. It's very enjoyable. It's very funny, very heartfelt at times. I love the Scott Lang character and everything about him. Hope, Hank, Janet. I love all these characters. If we get an Ant-Man 4, I'm all for it. I hope we see all of them again in the future, particular Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. And man, that's it for me. Also, one last note, there are 2 post-credit scenes that are very, very, very instrumental for the future of the MCU moving forward. I loved them. They were great. They got me hella hyped for the future. And man, I dug this movie, you guys. I really did. But that's it from me, you guys. Thank you so much for sitting here watching this video here with me today. Go ahead and like the video if you can, and also subscribe down below to stay up to date on all my future uploads and my future videos and reviews that I'm gonna have coming out down the pipeline for you guys. Go ahead and hit that bell if you want to as well, so that you'll be notified once I do upload my videos. And man, I hope you all enjoy the rest of you guys' weekends. I'll drop the spoiler review within the next couple of days for you guys, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's it from me, you guys. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll talk to you soon.